Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Spark Creativity Teacher Podcast, a podcast for English teachers in search of creative teaching strategies. Whether you're new to the show or a longtime listener, I'm so glad you're here for today's edition of Highly Recommended. This week, I want to share advice that I only wish someone had given me long ago. Don't grade everything your students create. It's so easy to feel pressure to put a grade on everything your students make. They often come in expecting to see a letter on top of every single piece of paper that they create for you. But it's impossible to keep up, and it doesn't necessarily benefit your students or you to try. Instead, think about how you can grade what really shows what your students have learned and build in ways to validate their effort in other ways besides giving it a grade. So let's look at a couple of examples. Let's say you do bell ringers. You have 5 bell ringers a week in 5 different classes times 30 different students. That grading load would be crushing. Try walking around while the kids are doing their bell ringers with a stamp and just putting a stamp, a fun little stamp, a frog with a big happy face or a superhero flying through the sky or whatever. Put that stamp on the paper as students complete them. They see that you're noticing their work, and maybe every week you give them a completion grade for those bell ringers, making a little note along the way for kids who just repeatedly are not doing the work that they're not going to get the full points on that completion grade. Another way to deal with these bell ringers would be to invite students to choose their favorites every Friday, the one out of the 5 that really shows that they understand what you've been learning and working on that week, that really shows their effort, and they can turn that one in for an actual grade. Another option would be to go ahead and collect them every day and then just pass them back. Maybe you put a check mark on them. Maybe you quickly run through and make sure that everybody did one. Or maybe you just collect them and then randomly once in a while, you actually put an amount of points on each one. But the rest of the time, you're just taking them in so students have a chance to turn them in, maybe doing a 20-second browse through to see what's going on with your class. Okay, let's look at another scenario. Your students are working on their argument writing. And obviously, to improve their argument writing, they have to do a lot of writing. But that doesn't mean you have to be giving feedback on every piece. So let's say over the course of 3 weeks, they're going to write significantly on 5 different prompts. You do not have to collect all 5 of those rounds of sort of mini essays. They're practice, they're learning, they're developing their mastery. Instead, think about how you can build in other ways for your students to have validation, find ways to improve, feel like their writing matters besides a grade. So maybe with one of them, you do self-editing stations. So you've put these stations around the room. They're going to have significant things for your students to develop in their writing at each station. They're actually learning from you and from all that you know that they need to improve at each station without ever turning anything in. So they improve with the stations. Maybe on another day, you're going to do some significant peer editing where you give the peers, a real guide that takes them through how to give significant feedback. And that's going to replace you giving feedback that time. Maybe another time you're going to do revision practice where you focus on specific skills that you're getting a lot of questions around. So maybe you're going to have a thesis day and you're just really going to work with them on their theses. And you're going to have like a special handout that has some common errors, and they're going to use that to improve. All these different strategies are all going to allow them to improve their argument writing, and you are orchestrating that improvement without actually grading all of these different prompts. Then at the end of the 3 weeks, you invite them to turn in a final draft on just one of those 5 prompts. They've had all these opportunities to improve, all these different forms of feedback, the self-editing stations, the peers, the sort of focused skill practice in class. And now they take all that, apply it to a final draft of one prompt, and give that to you. It's still going to be a lot for you to grade, right? 150 Prompts, even if they've been improved a lot and they show mastery, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot less work than if you multiply that by all 5 prompts. Okay, I could go on and on with examples, but the main thing is to remember that you don't have to grade everything your students do. Use stickers, use stamps, check marks, peer feedback, student selected pieces to turn in for grading, all these different strategies to validate your students' effort, and then save your grading time for what really counts. I highly recommend you give yourself permission to stop grading it all and see just how much creative planning time you might get back in your day. Thanks so much for joining me for today's quick, highly recommended episode. Friends, if you're listening live, then Black Friday is coming up soon, and I have some really fun things to share with you on each day of the week of November 20th to 24th. Watch your email to learn more about a special opportunity to dip your toes into the lighthouse and see if it's right for you, as well as fun deals on brand new poetry and argument resource bundles to take some pressure off you in 2024. If you're not on my email list yet, what are you waiting for? Just hop onto my website at nowsparkcreativity.com and sign up for some new curriculum to try from the free resources section. It just takes a few seconds to get on the list. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay creative.